I met you in the dark, you lit me up. You made me feel as though I wasn't off. We danced the night away, we drank too much. I held your hair back when you were throwing up. Then you smiled over your shoulder. For a minute I was stone cold sober. I pulled you closer to my chest.
Hi, I'm Troy from Studio 33 Guitar. Thanks for watching. Today we're looking at a great song by James Arthur called Say You Won't Let Go. We've had a lot of requests for this song, but one of the things that people have asked for is more of a strumming pattern for this song. This song originally is played with more of a finger picking style of playing, and for a beginner that can be a little bit tricky to do. So people have asked for more of a straightforward strumming type of pattern for this. So we're going to work on that today on the first part of the video, and then later in the video I'll show you the actual more finger picking style of playing it. So the video will be in two parts. The first half will be more for the beginner style, and then later will be more like the original. If you like this video, then please let us know by hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment below. You can also request a song in the comment section of this song. Don't forget to check out our website at studio33guitar.com. You can even download a free ebook of chords and scales. You can also find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, all the social media sites. We're there as Studio 33 Guitar. In order to play this song in the original key and play along with the recording, you will need a capo, and you'll put that capo on the 3rd fret. If you don't have a capo, you can still play this song using these same chord shapes, just move them down 3 frets. You won't be able to play along with the original recording because it'll be in a different key, but if you want to just play by yourself and sing it, you can do that with these same chord shapes. This song is played with only 4 chords, and they're played the exact same way throughout the entire song. So it's a fairly simple song to learn. The 4 chord shapes you're going to need to know are G, D over F sharp, E minor, and C. Now I'm going to show you a couple different variations of each of those chords that you can use. So whether you're a beginner or more advanced, we should be able to find a way for you to be able to play this song. So let's zoom in on the neck and have a look at these chords. As I mentioned, you will need a capo. Put that capo on the 3rd fret. Now when you put that capo on, just make sure that you line that up with the fret. You don't want the capo to be back here or in the middle. You want to try and move it up so that it's close to that front fret. That's where you're going to get the best sound. Now as I talk about these chord shapes, the G, D, E minor, and C, I'm referring to the chord shapes and how they would normally be played. When we put the capo on, technically they're actually a different name of the chord. So for example, that G chord, even though we're playing a G chord shape, we're actually playing a B flat. But to keep it simple for instruction purposes, I'm going to be calling this a G chord. The first chord that we're going to need for this song is a G major chord. Now there's a few different ways to play a G major, so let's have a look at the fingering that we're using here. The G chord starts with your middle finger on the 3rd fret up from that capo. The index finger, 1 string down, back fret. That's pretty normal. That's the way most G chords are played. The next 2 strings are open. So the first 4 strings you have. Now on these higher strings, this is where sometimes it's a little bit different. Sometimes a G chord is played, some people will put their ring finger down on that high note, or sometimes they'll put their pinky finger on that high note. You can play a G chord that way, either way. The way that I typically play a G chord is with the ring finger on the next string up from where I just showed you, and then the pinky finger on that note. So we have both of these fingers together on the same fret on different strings. And that G chord would sound like this. So they're both G chords, they're just slightly different sound. You can see if I have my ring finger up, ring finger down. So for this particular song, later when you're learning more of that finger picking style, this note is going to be really important. So it's going to be good for you to learn this song using this G chord shape. Even if you're doing this beginner type of strum pattern where you're not actually needing that particular note. As you learn it later, when you get more comfortable and you want to add in that finger picking style, then you're going to want to have your ring finger on that note. So let's make our G chord that way. The next chord that's played is a D over F sharp, or D/F sharp. Now what that means is you're playing a D chord, but you're putting an F sharp note in the bass. So for a D over F sharp chord, the way that we play it is start with a D major chord like this, which you probably know the shape of that, but you can probably see from my fingers how that's played. Index, ring, and then middle. So that's our regular D major chord. To play a D over F sharp, you could do a couple of different things. Some people will use their thumb to come around and play the F sharp note here. Now that's a tricky move, and if you have smaller hands, that's a difficult thing to do, to get your thumb to come around the top like that. So an alternative way to play it, and the way that a lot of people do play D over F sharp, is we'll play that F sharp note with the index finger. But now what we'll do is move the middle finger to where the index finger was. So let's go back here. So there's the D major chord. We're going to lift our index finger up and just move that middle finger up 2 strings to where the index finger was. And now your index finger is going to go up to that F sharp note. So now this highest string is no longer being held down, and we don't actually need that note in the chord. So when we play a D over F sharp, we don't need that high note. So what you can do is just angle your palm a little bit so that your hand actually touches against that high E string, and it'll stop it from ringing. So we have that D over F sharp chord like this. If I play that highest string, it's just being held by the back, the palm of my hand, so that it's no longer ringing. So that is a D over F sharp chord. Now when we're coming from the G chord to that D over F sharp, the movement is a little bit different. So, because we're not going to go to a D chord first and then to a D over F sharp, we're going straight from this G to the D over F sharp. So here's how we're going to do that. We're going to start with this G chord with our ring finger and pinky finger down. And when we go to play this D over F sharp, we're just going to move our index finger up 1 string. So we're already here, we're just going to move it straight up, and then take your middle finger off. So now we need that middle finger to go down to that spot that we just had a minute ago, and that gives us that D over F sharp. So that movement again is like this. There's G, index finger up, middle finger down here, and that gives us that D over F sharp. Now you can also leave that pinky finger where it is if you want to, going from that G to that D over F sharp. You just want to, again, not play that highest string. So you can either take the pinky finger off and use that muting technique like I just explained with your palm, or you can leave it on there, but just make sure that you don't actually strum that note. If you do, it's not the worst case. That note will not sound bad in the chord. It just changes the sound slightly, but it's not bad. So here's the G. Here's the D over F sharp with the pinky finger on there. It still sounds nice. It actually makes it a D sus chord, if you know what that is. But you can either play that on or off. But if you do leave that pinky finger on, if you're able to skip that highest string when you're strumming, then that will give you a sound that's closer to the original song. The third chord that we need is an E minor chord. And that can also be played a few different ways. Sometimes people will play an E minor like this. Sometimes it'll be played like this. The way I like to play an E minor chord is by playing what's called an E minor 7. So that one starts out this same way. The index and middle finger both are on the 2nd fret of the A and D string. But the ring finger and pinky can actually be back down in that same spot that we were using for the G chord and the D over F sharp chord. So this makes it a really nice transition because you're not having to move these fingers at all. and it makes it a little bit smoother when you're changing chords. So here's an E minor 7. So again, that's those two notes in that same spot as before, and your index finger and middle finger. The other great thing is moving from that D over F sharp chord to this E minor is really simple, because our D over F sharp starts like this, and all we're going to do is move our middle finger and index finger toward each other. So the index finger is going to come down one string, the middle finger is going to go up one string, and that gives you the E minor 7. The final chord that we need for this song is a C major. And a C major traditionally is played like this. You might know that, it might be one of the first chords that you learned. Let's go over that really quickly. Your ring finger is on the 3rd fret. Your middle finger, one string down and back a fret. And then you're skipping the next string, it's going to stay open. And then your index finger is going on the 1st fret, and the 2nd string up. So this is a C major chord. And that's what he plays in the song, and that's the type of chord you're going to need when you get into the finger picking style. It is going to be this C major chord because you need to have this note and the open string. But if you wanted to play it more, again, as a simple strumming pattern and you're not worried about doing the finger picking part, there is an alternative C chord that you could use that'll be a lot easier. That C chord is called a C add 9. And that looks like this, which again is pinky finger and ring finger on that same fret again, those same two notes. And then the middle finger and index fingers actually looks just like a G chord, except those two fingers are moved down. So you have your middle finger on a C, index finger, one string down, one fret back. And that'll be a C add 9. So the nice thing about that, especially as a beginner, is you're only moving your two fingers instead of all your fingers. And these two can stay in that same spot for all 4 of those chords. So let's have a listen to what that would sound like. So you can see how that sounds similar to the original song, but it's just a little bit easier with how we're playing the chords and how we're strumming. So let's have a look at the strumming pattern that I'm using for that. First, it's important to understand the timing of these chord changes. Each of these chords takes 1 bar. And if you know from previous lessons of mine, I usually like to break down the bars and count them out. And we'll count to 4 for each bar. So each chord is going to get a count of 4. So that would sound like this. Now I'm just going to use simple down strums, just 1 strum for each chord so you can hear where the changes are. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it repeats 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you could play that song just like that, and that would be a great way to start out if you're just learning how to play and you're just starting out. Learn it with just playing 1 strum for each chord change. The original has a little bit of a different rhythmic feel, and the best way to think about that is that each chord gets 3 strums. So you can think of that more like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can hear how that's sounding a little bit more like the original. Now what I was playing a few minutes ago as an example, I added in an upstroke. And that would sound like this. And the way that you can think about that is still counting to 4, but you're doing the upstroke on 2. And we're changing the rhythm of how we're saying the 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not quite as straight. But that would be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm giving a downstroke on 1, an up on 2, and then 3, 4 are both downstrokes. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now when you're playing those upstrokes, you only want to be catching those higher strings. You don't want to be playing like that. You just want to be getting those high 2 or 3 strings. Once you're comfortable with that strumming pattern, you could add in a couple of more upstrokes at the end of the bar. So that would be something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the way that you want to count that is we're going to say "anda" after 4. And on the "anda," we're going to be playing down, up. So listen to how that would sound. 1, 2, 3, 4, "anda." 1, 2, 3, 4, "anda." 1, 2, 3, 4, "anda." So that's down, up, down, 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 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, "anda." 1, 2, 3, 4, "anda." And then we would follow that same strumming pattern for all 4 chords. So that would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 4. As you get more comfortable with that, you could substitute that C chord, that C add 9, and we could put in that C major chord. And you can get used to making that change because you will need that chord to play more of that finger picking style. Okay, now we'll look at more of the finger picking style that he does in the original. They're going to be using the same chords as the beginner style, except that C chord, instead of that C add 9, we're going to use that C major chord. So again, we're going to start with that G chord like this. We're going to be playing it the same way. And with our right hand now, with our picking hand, we're not going to be using a pick, but we're going to be using our fingers. So our thumb is going to concentrate on the low E string. And then we're going to use our middle finger and index finger on the G and B strings. And that's going to be kind of a plucking motion like that. You're grabbing both of those strings and you're just turning your wrist out. And you're going to be using those same 2 strings for all 4 of these chords. So that's the nice simple thing about this, is that it's the same pattern throughout. So we're going to start with this G chord like this. And then we're going to take that ring finger and we're just going to lift it off and we're going to play these 2 strings again. So we're going to get this sound. After we play those open strings, we're going to come back down to the low E string with the thumb, play it again, and now we're going to play that string that our index finger was on. Okay, so the whole pattern is like this. So you can do that slowly over and over again until you're comfortable with it. And again, we're going to be using that same pattern with this hand for all the chords. So G is first. Then we're going to move down to this D over F sharp. And now here we're going to do the same thing. This ring finger is going to come off. And then again back with the thumb and the index finger. Then we're going to go to the E minor. And again, it's the same move. You're putting your ring finger here and you're lifting it off. And then the final chord is that C chord. And you're going to want to use the C major chord like this. And now our thumb is going to move down to that C note. So we're going to go down to the A string instead of the E string. But our index finger and middle finger are doing the same thing they were doing before. Plucking those two strings. But now we're going to lift the index finger off. Now the timing of that lift is a little bit different than the other chords. So the C chord sounds like this. So you play it twice with the index finger down, and then play it one more time and quickly take the index finger off. So again, the C chord will sound like this. So let's try that whole chord progression together, starting with the G. And that's played exactly the same way throughout the entire song. The verse, the chorus, the whole way through. You don't have to change at all. Well, that's the whole song. I hope that you found this lesson useful and that you can play this song in no time. If you did, it'd be great if you could let us know by hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, leaving a comment down below. And again, make sure you check us out on our website, studio33guitar.com, and on all the social media sites. Until next time.